Hey guys, so another whistleblower just came out on the tech monsters, right? Check out Project Veritas's latest video talking about or showing the whistleblower that came out against Google. It's great. He actually was able to get some internal documents showing Google's plans and how they're basically manipulating the narrative, how they don't give a shit about anybody else's points of view or perspective, how they just want to control it all because they're evil demons from hell. So that, and he also got some undercover footage of one of the, I want to say she's some sort of executive. I didn't really get her title, but basically, talking about how, they don't really care what other people think, and they're going to do what they want to do anyway, because they know that they're very powerful and they're hard to be stopped, or it's hard to stop them. But the good thing about this is now that they have this lady on tape saying this, they have the internal documents. They basically went through the algorithms and showing, how they manipulate the algorithms and search engines to turn up certain results or not turn up certain results. This is great because this is evidence that can be used in court to bring these assholes down, right? Hopefully there are more people that are going to come out. And, the whole time I was thinking, it's funny how these assholes think that, this AI technology is all powerful and all knowing, but they can never, ever account for the human spirit, right? Because people have consciences or conscience. They have conscience, and they have feelings, and they have, they still have free will and freedom of thought. So, they can control a lot of people to a certain degree with pure pressure and keeping them in fear of losing their job or being hated. But there's still people that are going to find the courage enough to step out and say something and speak up and be brave, right? This is the inspiring thing about this, about humanity and humans, right? Like this whole AI thing, it's definitely this war between humanity and conscience, right? And then you have people that are like Ray Kurzweil and other people that are in the tech world saying that we're gonna have to merge with AI whether we like it or not. I'm like, excuse me? You were like, so you're basically forcing this shit on us. You're not giving us a choice, but you are the ones that want to talk about like tyranny, and you want to talk about Donald Trump and shit winning and saying that he's the fascist. No, you're the fascist, right? This is like Nazism on steroids. And I brought up this movie a couple of videos ago, and there were some people that were really, really happy that I knew about this movie. I have a friend that is friends with, what's his face? From Red Ice, Henrik Palmgren. And he's friends with him. And he's the one that introduced me to that movie. And he was like, check this movie out. I'm like, okay. The Greatest Story Never Told. And it's interesting because I said it humanizes the Germans and Nazis, right? And I think there is a big secret that people are trying to cover up. And the secret is that given the right conditions, anybody can become a Nazi. Anybody could become tyrannical. It doesn't have to do with race. It doesn't have to do with culture. It has to do with ideology. It has to do with the lust for power. It has to do with manipulating people through fear and making them afraid, so that, a lot of these crazy ass SJWs, they're brainwashed, they're manipulated, right? It starts with the education system that I'm talking about, and then, they're given this superiority complex where their mind is shut off, that anybody outside of their cult, right, that they've been indoctrinated into can't tell them anything, because in their mind that they think they're better and they think they're superior, right? Same thing with the Nazis, and it wasn't just Hitler, it was a multitude of things. Hitler gets all the blame, but he's just one guy. There's a lot of people that were involved in this mass mind control manipulation, and but his from his standpoint, he was like what was I gonna say? You know, he had this idea that the Aryan race was superior, right? And nobody could tell him otherwise, right? So people that joined the Nazi party that were oh god, I can't think of the word, that were staunch, I was just say maybe staunch Nazis, they had this complex about like you know, they were superior, nobody was better than them, and all their ideologies and everything that they did was right, you know. And at the time they were also like, people don't talk about how technologically advanced Germany was. It was super technologically advanced. They had a lot of interesting research and science and technology that was going on, and so much so that the United States basically bought off and imported a lot of the Nazi scientists to America to continue their research with mind control and the technology that we have today. The pharmaceutical industries, you know, all the drug companies and stuff, they all have these Nazi roots, right? And it's basically, and now that I think about it, I'm kind of making the connection that these Google tech companies are just an extension of the Nazi regime that was taking place in Germany, and they wanted to take over the world. That's what they wanted to do, right? Like, that was their goal, to take over the world. You know, and the Japanese were in on it as well. Nobody talks about the Japanese. I have a friend that's Chinese, and he was talking about, like, I think there were 10 million Chinese that were slaughtered by the Japanese, but, you know, that's way more than 6 million Jews. But yeah, I know the Jews get all the sympathy, right? Nobody gives a fuck about all the other races and cultures that were, you know, genocided by the Japanese. But the Japanese were basically like the Nazis as well, and nobody really talks about that, right? They were joining, like, the Nazis, the Japanese people and the Nazis. They were, like, you know, joining forces so they can take over the world, and the Japanese are pretty advanced as well, you know. There was that book, I read like half of it and I never finished it, and then they made a series of it. They made a TV series. It's called The Man in the High Castle, and that's what it is. It was a Philip K. Dick book, and what happened was it's basically set in the future, and it's set in a world where the Nazis did win. The Nazis got the west coast of America, and the Japanese got the Japanese got the west coast of America, and the Nazis got the east coast, like half of the country. So Japanese from the west coast on in got that part of America, and the Nazis from the east coast on in got that part of America. And it was crazy. Like, blacks were put back into slavery, and, you know, it was insane. It's insane fucking, like, scenario. But basically, that's what the Google people want, right? They want to take over the world. They want to control your thoughts. They want to control truth. She even talks about in the video how they want to control truth, right? Even though they know what the truth is, no, they want their version of the truth, which is basically alternative facts. So all these fucking assholes that are gaslighting you and saying that, you know, your opinions aren't what your opinions are basically, they know that their opinions aren't popular, and they're trying to manipulate the masses into thinking the way that they do, because they're so twisted and so sick that they don't care. There's no reasoning with it, right? I don't know. I hope that bitch loses her job. I wanted to, like, throw a tomato at her face so bad. Remember Muppet Babies and Fozzie the bear would get, like, smashed with tomatoes? Like, I was listening to her talk, and that's all I wanted to do. I just wanted to throw, like, tomatoes at her face, like, all day. But yeah, like, she has this really arrogant attitude, and, you know, like, people, I've mentioned my brother, you know, like, he has that attitude too, that, you know, if I'm mentally ill because I don't agree with him, because I have a different opinion. So, you know, when you start calling people mentally ill and saying that there's something wrong with them, not that they're wrong, but there's something wrong with them, then you start to dehumanize people, and it's easy to see people as less than, right? That's what people, anytime that there's a situation with slavery or genocide, that's one of the steps that people have to do, is they have to dehumanize the people that they're quote unquote against. So it makes it easier to terminate them, or to put them away, or to lock them up, or to kill them, right? Because, you know, who wants a society of mentally ill people? We're just holding them back, you know? Same thing one of the reasons I'm so adamant about a lot of the anti-vaccine stuff and autism and all this stuff is that, if they have their way, they're going to kill mentally handicapped people. They're going to, the severely autistic people, just like in Germany, they're going to X them off. I'm sorry. I'm not trying to scare people that have kids that are autistic or that are handicapped themselves, but they're going to be some of the first people to go if these assholes have their way, right? First is basically, it's the intellectuals. I think, I don't know, first it would be the intellectuals that disagree with them, right? That have the power. So people like, me, that are speaking out, that see through their fucking bullshit. Jordan Peterson, Sargon of Akkad, anybody that's smart enough, that has a following, that has people's ear. I don't have, their followings are way bigger than mine, but I'm just saying, like, they don't want people to outthink them. They don't want people to see through their plan. There are a lot of people that are just, they're not even, I don't even like to say that most people are dumb. I just think that there are a lot of people that are overwhelmed, they're distracted, and a lot of people that are distracted, they have to work a lot, they have families, that don't have time to look into this stuff. They're going to be looking over here. They're going to have them looking over here while everything's going on over there. So, like, those people that are just distracted, they're not going to be the first to go. In fact, they're using them to manipulate them to keep their machine going, because I think that there are a lot of people that are in tech that are just like, they think they're doing a good thing. They're making a lot of money. They have a lot of prestige. So they're of the mindset that nobody could, nobody's really better than them. They're like, look at me. I'm making good money. I'm working for Google. I'm doing really cool things. I'm changing the world. But all the while, they're being used, and they're intelligent people. They're really good at memorizing and regurgitating. They're pushed into that left side of the brain, just like the academics, educational systems are set up to do, right? They're pushing them over there so they can use them at their will. So, and then they can't make like whole brain creative connections, right? They're pushed out of their empathy. They don't really have empathy. They're just kind of like, single-minded, tunnel visioned people. And this is why also high-functioning autistic people are really useful for people like that. They'll probably keep those people around because they won't organize, they won't ask questions, they don't understand nuances and emotions like other people do. And then the low-functioning autistic people, there's a theory that a lot of low-functioning autistic people actually have this gene called the MAO gene, the warrior gene, and it's like those people that are strong enough and smart enough to fight back, they've been handicapped. That's a whole nother video. I can't go into that right now, but they know what they're doing. They know what they're doing with these vaccines and how to manipulate people and how to inflame their brain. And I think that that could have been part of the research too that was going on in Germany. Vaccines have been around since the 1700s, but they've always been, it seems like to me, the more research I do, it seems like they're always looking at things to add or ways to tweak it, right? Experimenting with us to figure out what works. And there's some people that say that the low-functioning autistic people they're just side effects, but I don't believe that. I believe that they're actually the warrior. They're also disabling the warrior people in society that could fight back and beat these nerds to a fucking pulp, and that are also intelligent. So for those of you guys that want to know, you should look into a little bit more on this. Should look into the Christina England theory and look into the MAO, I think it's called the warrior gene, and how it's affected. But anyway, they know what they're doing. So they are basically trying to create, a Brave New World. If you ever read that book, it's kind of like Brave New World 1984 mix on steroids, basically. It's like Brave New World in 1984 had a baby, and we're part of the way there. And like I keep saying, we're at the apex of this time in history where we can either go into that Brave New World or we can be freer than we've ever been, because we're also, but they try to use a lot of the internet to enslave us, but they didn't count on people using it to inform people and connecting with people, right? Making connections on the world. They didn't count on people like Julian Assange and all these other people that aren't even maybe that known, but are still very important players in this, in this game of life. you know, people just popping up like, you know, whack-a-mole, making their own YouTube channels. That's why I'm always, you know, supportive of people. You know, even you got 10 subscribers, make a fucking YouTube channel, right? The more of us that come out and talk about this stuff, that put these ideas out into the ether, and they get people to think about stuff. And you see how they're trying to, you know, make the Sandy Hook narrative just as, you know, people question that. They're trying to make it just as bad as questioning the Holocaust. And you should still question the Holocaust, because I don't think that we're being told the whole truth about that either. So what? You know, why can't you question the Holocaust? You know, why can't you question Sandy Hook, right? And the thing is, too, everybody has a piece of the puzzle. Like, I interviewed this guy named Greg, and he was talking about, he was a firefighter, and with Sandy Hook, he knew that something was up with it, because he saw that they, like, the footage that they showed looked like a drill, and he was saying that they never dispatched trauma helicopters to the scene. If people were shot and killed, why weren't there trauma helicopters? It was all just news helicopters. So me, that's not somebody that's not a firefighter, I never would have thought of that. However, I knew that there was something wrong with Sandy Hook, because I worked with special ed for 8 years, and I worked with these kids, and I knew there was no way in hell. And the way that they described his level of autism, and that he needed help doing certain things, and I know that people at that level, that have that level of autistic impairment, like, their motor skills are terrible, and they're real sensitive to sound. So the gunshots, he wouldn't have planned anything like that. The gunshots would have made him freak out. The motor skills are terrible, but yet he's supposed to be this perfect shot at killing people. That's ridiculous. I knew that they were lying there, you know. Then you have other people adding their own personal experiences and expertise to the situation to bring about the whole picture. Yet the mainstream media just want us to have this the narrative that they tell us that, you know, that happened, yet we're not supposed to use critical thinking in our own brains to think. Fuck you, dudes. Like, this is the secret. They don't want us, they do not want us to talk to each other. They don't want us to make connections. And these are issues that can unite people of every race, every culture, every, you know, of both sexes, all sexes, both sexes, you know, everybody. These are people, these are factors that can unite humanity. Once you see who the controllers are, which are a very small portion of people, they want us to think that it's bigger, but it's really like the Wizard of Oz, right? It's really like the man behind the curtain, right? Really, like 1%. I really think that 1%, maybe even less of that, rule the world, but they're really master manipulators. They're not good at creating things. They take our creativity and use it against us, or get us to work for them, right? These people that are good at coding and stuff like that think they're doing a good thing, but these people never would have been able to think of something like that. But they'll take somebody and pay them a lot of money, or give them a lot of praise, or blow up their ego, or give them, you know, a job at a prestigious company, or just take, or people that you know, that create something interesting. They'll just take their shit, they'll kill them. Once they figure out how it works, they'll just take their ideas and then they'll just fucking kill them, you know, or threaten their family. Like, that's how evil these assholes are. But this is a great insight to how these people think. It's not surprising, but it's also just like, damn, like, wow, your level of evilness just gets more impressive. I'm like, evilness, I'm making up words, but you guys know what I mean. Your level of evil gets much more impressive. I mean, that's the kind of astounding thing, right? You're just like, you're not surprised that they're doing this, but the level of evil, you're just like, God, like, because you're not, like, I don't think like that. I don't think on that level of malevolence that that when I see these things, I was like, wow, like, that's just another level. Anyway, check it out. I think I ranted. I tried to make this 15 minutes going into 19 minutes, but anyway. All right, guys, that's it. That's our wrap for today. Check out Project Veritas's latest video. Give them some support. And if you are in tech, you know, contact them. You know, we don't, you know, one thing that this guy said that was really striking, he was talking about, like, he thought he was okay with it for a while, and then he saw where this was going, and he was just like, God, this is just like 1984, and he's like, this is not a world that I want to live in. So props to you. Many blessings for you, Guy, for coming out. I hope you're okay. I'll send you my love and energy, and hope that you're protected. And thank you for all the people that are stepping out and being brave. We need you, and you're really a great asset to humanity. Okay, peace and love. Bye.